Neil from Messick's here to show you a new product that we're carrying. This is a B&D crusher roll, a new type of roll that you might want to consider putting into your self-propelled hay mower. We're just on the backside here of our open house and have spent the last week showing people and running stuff through these things. So I'm going to do it for you here today and show you a little bit of what makes this roll a little bit different than the ones that are usually found in a traditional steel or rubber rolled machine.
Messick's, a helping hand with your land.
We've done several videos in the past talking about disc mowers and conditioning rolls and the different types that are out there. Most every manufacturer offers one of two different variations, either a Chevron style rubber roll or a steel roll. Now the steel rolls are going to be the more aggressive version, right? Kind of desirable for really stemmy crops where you need an aggressive roll that's going to go through and break those stems in order to get them to dry down. The downside of that kind of roll is its aggressiveness does tend to knock many of the leaves and stuff off of your crop, making it good in some conditions but not in others. We tend to prefer personally the rubber rolls more often than not. These aren't going to be quite as aggressive, but they can ingest those crops in a way that kind of retains their feed value a little bit better. One thing to know about those two style of rolls is that they don't contact each other. A Chevron rubber roll or a steel roll with its kind of bars going across it are made if they're close together, but they never quite touch. And that's to prevent wear and that kind of stuff from occurring on those rolls. These B&D crusher rolls, though, are a little bit different. This is a rubber roll, but interestingly, if you push on it, it's a little flexible. The rubber is not as hard as what we're used to on a traditional rubber roll. And these rolls are actually made to contact each other. So this is called a crusher roll. When that crop gets pulled between the rolls, it's actually being crushed as it goes through here, breaking it down the entire way along the stem. That does two things. It improves your dry time significantly rather than having, say, maybe 2 or 3 places across that stem where it's been bent over in order to allow the hay to dry down. This is breaking it the entire way along the stem. That will increase the dry down time. But because you've also kind of worked and crushed that hay as it's gone through the roll, it also makes really soft hay, which is a really desirable thing maybe for some of the people who are buying your hay product. So we've shown in several videos before of taking some things out and adjusting your roll gap and feeding things through rubber or steel rolls. And what you usually find when you feed those crops through is that you'll see, when you look at the crop itself, you'll see the places that say the roll may have bent the crop back and forth. But these rubber rolls have kind of a different profile on the crop once it goes through. So if we take this and spin these rolls here and feed through my little piece of foil, you'll see this wavy pattern that's put into the foil as it goes across. That's where you can see the crop kind of contacting that as it goes. We'll do the same thing here with a piece of wire. This one's a little bit more defined. We feed that wire through. There you go. You can see the wavy pattern of those rolls contacting the crop the entire way through. So a little bit different behavior than what we may have been used to in rolls in the past. There are a handful of things that do make the construction of this roll a little bit different than what we're used to seeing in a traditional roll. One of those here, kind of if you start in the middle, the pipe that runs across the inside of this is an actual, say, cast pipe. Most of your rolls inside of your machines are taken from a piece of sheet metal that's then bent around and then balanced. And you're going to get usually a better balance out of this because they're starting with that round tube stock as opposed to bending something around themselves. That gives a little bit less vibration in the machine. We've heard from our customers that have run this before that they can tell that their machine runs a little bit more quiet, and it also can improve the longevity of the bearings that support these rollers. I mentioned before here that the material here feels a little soft. It's not spongy at all, right? But you can feel that it gives a little bit when you push on it. That does kind of help with this action of these things meshing together. We have talked to a customer or two who have actually pulled metal objects and stuff through these before, kind of thinking about, are they going to get damaged because they're not hard? And the description that we got from somebody who managed to pull a whole rake tooth through one was that they did see the indentations and stuff in the roller after ingesting that metal, but after some time of these things rolling around and continuing to operate, because these are a little flexible, it's almost like the rubber kind of worked around and filled in some of that gap from where the damage was done, right? Because it's just a little bit pliable. So those are two things I thought was interesting. Maybe a little bit more damage resistance and possibly a little bit different balancing than what we might be used to from other rolls. If you've paid attention to us here at Messick's at all, you know that we're always very intentional about giving pros and cons to equipment because nothing is perfect. I pressed one of our manufacturers on why this isn't technology that's been licensed and installed into their products new from the factory. And the response that I got was twofold. Maybe a little bit of acknowledgement that this is a worthwhile product, but also some concerns to watch out for. So one of those concerns was because you are so aggressively conditioning the hay that while it gives up its moisture very quickly and it becomes nice and soft, that morning dew can be absorbed into it just as quickly. And repeated, say, drying and wetting cycles like that can start to impact the relative feed value of that crop over time. So while it is great at crushing that hay, it is something that you're going to make sure it gets baled just as quickly after you've gone through and mowed it. The first thing we did when considering selling this product is talk to them and find out who in our area already had these rolls in their machine to try to get some feedback of their performance. And we were really surprised how many of you were already aware of them and how many of you are already running them. It was really surprising to find out what a large install base there already is out there for these. This is an aftermarket roll that can go into virtually any manufacturer's piece of equipment, so it is usually looked at as an aftermarket option, although we have taken new machines now and installed these in brand new equipment from the factory. So we're doing a little bit of that here ourselves at Messick's, but by and large, we usually are selling these as replacement rolls into other machines. As far as longevity goes, we're hearing hours in the 3,000 to 4,000 operating hours before these will start to roll, before these will start to wear out. We've heard from customers already that have even run these in their machine for 4 and 5 years, and when trading their unit back in again are keeping their rolls to put into the next machine because they have held up that well for them. So despite the contact that's happening here and maybe a softer surface than what I may have guessed, there doesn't seem to be longevity problems. And everything that we're hearing at this point has largely been positive feedback from our customers, many claiming that they wouldn't run anything else at this point. So if you're shopping for a piece of equipment and we can help, if you have a machine that could use some new rolls, we're glad to set you up with a pair. Give us a call here at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at messicks.com. This is it, right? So it really becomes important that once you've processed, once you've bailed your equipment, that